you stopped at like 1800.
Do you know what year was Palm Desert Incorporated?
1943 or 44.
As a city?
Oh, I thought you meant the WASP.
No. The city of Palm Desert was 1950 what?
It was late in 58, 59, somewhere
See,
there.
I would there when I moved here there as a permanent resident owner in 1956. It was a township. It was not a city. And then along the way, some years passed, and then they built the COD, College of the Desert. And when you drive from 111 going west or north, and from the corner of Fred Waring going on Monterey over to down through here towards the freeway, they had a government experimental date farm, and they grew all different kind of date trees, and you could go there and study to get credits. In the first block where the column is, still that corner they grew Timothy hay for the horses. So all along Monterey, when you are coming from the south, going north, first was this Timothy hay block, and then the next big block, where they park cars now, was this government base station. So that is all gone, and now it's a parking lot and a McCollum Theater. So as we progressed in population and homeowners, there was more work to build houses. So that's how we get all these young people and kids, and had to start building more schools, because we only had a high school in Indio and a high school in Palm Springs for quite a many years. And then in Palm Desert, to start a Catholic church, they rented a office, a business off the highway. It's now a alteration store. They had a priest, and he lived in the back, and it had 10 pews. It would seat like 30 people. But Bing Crosby did his very last ever fundraiser at Chi-Chi's in Palm Springs, and gathered enough money to start and build Sacred Heart Church, Catholic Church. And that was a big improvement for us. We didn't have to go drive to Cathedral City or Indio to church. So those are things that I can remember. And then, of course, the intermediate school was it the 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. There's one on Portola, Lincoln, and then there's one on Washington. So as we grew and the children grew, we had to develop service for all these people. And dealerships in automobiles, there was, in India was a Chevrolet, and Palm Springs was the General Motors. That's it. Now they're everywhere, the dealerships. And let's see, other tn that, when I bought my house, it was just on a cement slab on sand. So I had to build a fence, and I got paid once a month. So I bought lumber 1 month, this the second month, and this the third month. So the people that I worked with at Tamara's could come after work and help me build my fence. So Palm Desert didn't really get developed till, gosh, in the 50s. Would it be 60s? In the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
But I was here in the beginning and met a lot of people that played golf, and I've been associated and friends many, many years. It's always been my home base. I've traveled a lot in education, and I've traveled a lot for a golf company to develop the game of golf. Honor-wise, I would say the greatest achievement is becoming the fifth only member of 29,000 men in the PGA of America. Babe was first and Patty Bird was second. And Babe and Patty and Mickey Wright and Renee and myself, and then Annika. That's it. And there are 29,000 men, professionals that operate golf courses. They don't play on the tour. The tour is a different set of people. So that's about the highest honor that I could ever receive, other than being in the World Hall of Fame, which I've been nominated for and lost out to, I can't think of his name that year, but anyhow.
Well, I have a question for you. I was reading some information online about you, and when you established the
LPGA.
Thank you. It said that the group that founded that organization barnstormed around the nation.
Well,
that must
in order to compete, after we signed a charter and hired a tournament director, his job was to go out and knock on doors and have them put up prize money.
Mm-hmm.
So we had two main sponsors to begin with. We had a clothing manufacturer, Alvin Hanmacher, who made in his line of clothing a sports group of clothing called Weather Vane.
Oh.
So we played north, south, east, west. That's 4 tournaments. And then we went to travel. And then on the West Coast we had Helen Lingfeld, and she represented the United Voluntary Services. So these two people had charities that they could write off the money.
Oh.
Okay, so we had those 4, 5, 6, 7, and then the U.S. Open and a couple others. So the very first year we had 11 tournaments. So that's 11 weeks out of 36. Is that right? How many weeks?
52 weeks.
Out of 52 weeks, we had 11 weeks. So what are we going to do to make a living? Besides, we drove everywhere, and we always started in Florida and went all the way across to the West Coast, went up the West Coast, and then went across the country and ended up at the end in the New England area. But in those days, in the beginning, you couldn't compete on Sunday. They had the blue law. So we had to play 36 holes on Saturday. We couldn't play on Sunday. That was 2 or 3 years in the beginning. But we all drove by car from tournament to tournament. So we were like a circus. We were a group that came to you because you were the Rotary and you wanted to make money for your Rotary charities, so you put up some prize money, and we came in and played for the prize money and got in the car and went down the road another 500 or 800 miles to someone else who put up money. So that's how it was started. That's why they call it barnstorming. In the very beginning, there were no Holiday Inns. Holiday Inns did not start until 1953 or 4. So we stayed in motor courts in the southwest, or we stayed in members' homes when we were playing at their golf course. So actually, the pioneers, founders and pioneers, through the travels, it's so much different than it is today, because we just went down the road and kept going. And now our tour, when the recession was in and everything went global, a lot of Asians developed their golf, and they play on our golf tour, and we play on their golf tour. So now they fly here or there or everywhere else. They don't know what time it is, what day it is, what the climate is. I don't know how they keep up with the clothing to wear, because one week they're in humidity and the next week they're in cold in San Francisco. So it's hard on your system also.
Sure.
But the structure of the competition today is entirely different also, because the equipment that is used today is high-tech development. The ball and the golf club can swing faster and they hit it farther, and there's a limit to how much land you can use to build a golf course. So today, in today's world, they have to make the greens real fast, and then they have to put thick rough 5 inches high on the sides so that it limits those that can get the ball close to the hole. So there is a way to try to keep the scores low. Our junior program in the LPGA, the junior program has progressed tremendously. It's called the USGA, United States Golf Association, and LPGA Junior Girls. They have 111 chapters. That means in the whole United States, there's 111 groups of these juniors being taught and directed by LPGA teaching members. So the development is coming forward to develop more players for us. And other than that, there are many other junior associations. The first tee was with the PGA, and that's mixed boys and girls. And the first tee here is on Cook Street, and they are a first tee, plus they have the USGA Junior Girls golf programs. Other than that, you have major events that are top for us, major events, meaning the total prize money is $2 million, or there's one that's 3 or 5.
3.5, 4, yeah.
Whereas that's for everybody. Whereas when the men play, the one who wins makes that much, just one player, and we have to divide our amongst 144. You can only play 144. We have over. We have over 200. No, I'm wrong. We have 400 players qualified, but only 144 get to play every week. So you have to build yourself up. And then if you're in that 144 and your scores get too high, you get out, and then the next guy gets to come in. So not everybody gets to play all the time. On Mondays at the scheduled event, they have a qualifying and one person, and sometimes there's 50, 60 girls trying for that one spot to play in that tournament, and they pay a fee, an extra fee to do that. But that's how they can progress. But there are 7 women's golf tours now. There's the Korean, the Japanese, the Korean, the Taiwan, the European, the Asian. They have one starting in India, and plus we have 2 tours. We have the what they call it, the junior. It's called the Symetra Tour because of who puts up the money for it. So the girls, when they graduate college and still want to play, there is a way they could go to one of those other tours and compete. But also, if they've been in junior golf and high school golf and college golf, they can also take their knowledge and get involved in the media, or they can get involved in designing clothing or sales for manufacturers if they want to stay in that field. But a lot of them receive scholarships. Like one of our founders, Marilyn Smith, has a scholarship fund who gives out 5+ scholarships a year from raising money, which I have done here in our desert for the golf, USGA Junior Girls Golf, and to support my college golf program, because I grew up in Michigan and you don't have much good weather to compete. And when I was in school, you weren't supposed to play individual sports. You were supposed to play team sports. And so I paid my own way to go play in the national tournament and won it, and came back to college and was not honored because you're not supposed to play individual sports. So anything that we 11 tried to do was not easy. It was hard work, but we had that desire that we wanted to compete and we wanted to make it successful. So when we were out there, we all had a job to do. Someone marked the cars, someone made the pairings, and Marilyn Smith and I would call AP and UP on Sunday night on a payphone, so it would get in the papers. So we had to do it all ourselves. And then when we played a week, when you went to a tournament, we had a swing parade, and we all got out, and each person hit a different kind of shot, or chipping, or putting, or driving, or I did trick shots, which I learned from Joe Kirkwood, who was a trick shot artist for the company I work for, Golfcraft, and now that's Titleist today. But it was interesting to me to have a blind person. When I got through with the clinic, he wanted to know about my bent club and all this, and I said, well, how do you know what I was doing? He said, from what you said, his name was Boswell, and he was the national flying champion of America for quite a few years. And then after the Vietnam War, a lot of young men were blinded, and they had here in our desert at Annandale a blind national tournament, and each player has a coach, and the coach lines them up and tells them this hole bends left or it's straight, and then they play. It's amazing, because a lot of them had played golf before they were blinded, so it's easier for them to create it. But the hardest thing is sand, so they're allowed to round the club in the sand and play, and they can shoot far. It's just amazing. They can't see the hole. You know how far it is, and I just love to watch them when they were here. But,
I never thought something like that could be possible.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. The Palm Desert and Palm Springs was in the 50s, 60s, and beyond were filled with the movie crowd.
Yeah.
So when they came to the golf clubs, were there a lot of public there to see them, or how did that work out?
Private club. I taught at Tamarisk.
Yeah.
I taught Kirk Douglas. I taught the Marx Brothers. I taught Nat King Cole. All those people wanted. That was instead of tennis, they wanted golf. So I was busy teaching all these celebrities. They're just plain old people wanted to, wanted to learn.
Okay, I'm gonna stop this and then we can eat.